Okay, thank you very much, Marshall, for setting that up. So in Iowa, as Marshall mentioned, we conducted a study with the Central Rivers Area Education Agency and focusing on some of the particular concerns in Iowa. We start off with a recognition that technology can provide opportunities for learning the skills that are essential for 21st century workplaces. The challenge that the Area Education Agency, or Central Rivers AEA, brought to us is that districts realize that they need to support teachers' use of education technology, and that in some cases, districts are finding that the way teachers are using the technology was not in ways that they envisioned supporting the learning of 21st century skills. And there's a real strong interest because Iowa is predominantly a rural state in technology use in the rural context. So that's setting the background. Okay, just pausing here while I get my controls working. Okay, so I mentioned that there's a strong interest in 21st century skills in Iowa. Enshrined in the Iowa core standards are what they call the universal constructs for 21st century success. And I know many of you have seen these before as part of the 21st century skills framework. These are the learning skills, the 4 C's: collaboration, creativity, complex communication, and critical thinking. Also in the universal constructs, they have flexibility and productivity, which were not included in our study for reasons I'll explain in just a moment. So there's a recognition that these 4 learning skills are paired with technology in 21st century workplaces, and that the education that students get in high school should incorporate technology with these schools. So for example, when it comes to collaboration, just working among and across personal global networks, they want to see teachers encouraging students to collaborate online with students. Creativity, they want to see students learning how to create art and music, for example, or other products using technology. Complex communication, several examples of this, one of which is writing online reviews and blog posts. That is using technology to share information through multiple means. And also critical thinking, which is accessing and analyzing key information to develop solutions to complex problems, to use technology such as analyzing data from online sources. In the nice graphic, you see an Excel spreadsheet, something like that. So in this study, the purpose was to determine the classroom practices, teacher perceptions, and the challenges related to ed tech use in rural schools. So we have a few research questions. How frequently do teachers ask students to use technology in ways that promote the 21st century skills? Do they perceive that technology enhances learning? How confident are teachers in their ability to use and select education technology? And how much does professional development support teacher use of technology, and how do schools provide technology? How much do schools provide technology infrastructure and support? So in just a moment, we'll talk about our participants. The participants in this study were 26 schools in Central Rivers AEA out of 54, and that encompassed 524 teachers out of 800. So where did these, how did they come to participate? Well, I'll describe that in conjunction with our data source. The schools received the Bright Bites Clarity Teaching and Learning module prior to the study. And this was some technology that the consortium of AEAs provided to every district in this AEA. And it was up to the schools whether or not they would use this module. And his 26 schools used the module to complete some survey of teachers in 2017. And we obtained those data from the Central Rivers AEA. It was all completely anonymized. In this survey, I think the I should emphasize it, that this was not a survey that REL Midwest or Central Rivers AA created. It was already being used as part of a management tool that schools decided whether to use or not. It had the following topics which were relevant to our research questions. Actually, in the interest of time, I'll just go through this quickly. I think it's useful to note the number of items on the different topics. So with technology use, the first research question, there's an item about frequency of computer use, and then 18 items about technology use aligned to the 21st century skills. There are 3 items about teachers' perceptions of the benefits of technology use. And then research question 3 about the confidence of using technology, ed tech. 4 items about confidence in technology integration into instruction, and 9 items about technology use in general. And then with professional development, 3 items about the professional development time and 3 items about professional development quality. Yes, so I'll go on. And then about the infrastructure and support, 3 items about the frequency of technology discussions, 7 items about tech support, and 1 item each about internet access, policy, and access to devices. So where you're seeing multiple items per topic, what we're doing is we're combining them into a single scale for ease of interpretation. And here are major findings. I'm going to skip over the first slide, and that's not the main focus. I'm just going to go to talk about technology use for 21st century skills, more of our central focus today. The main finding is that when we're looking at the percentage of teachers reporting an emphasis on each of these skills, we're finding about a quarter are reporting emphasizing the use of technology to promote creativity and communication. And those are the percentages of teachers who are using technology in at least 2 different ways to promote creativity at least once a month. So it's not a real high bar. So you find about a quarter of teachers are using technology to promote creativity and communication, somewhat greater, closer to or around, let's say around 50% for critical thinking and collaboration. So that's overall across teachers. So we also wondering how this might look when you break it out by different types of teachers. So we looked at this as a function of subject area. And this particular chart is looking at frequency use of technology for communication, but it's representative of a similar pattern you see for both communication, collaboration, and creativity. And the main pattern is that math teachers, I'm going to pick on them, are the least likely to ask students to use technology in ways that promoted 21st century skills. On the high end, it kind of hopped around. Sometimes it was science, sometimes it was social studies, sometimes English language arts, but they're all fairly high, and consistently math was the lowest. We also looked at technology use by experience level, and we found teachers with 4 to 9 years of experience were the most likely to ask students at least monthly to use technology for collaboration and creativity. And conversely, the teachers with 20 or more years experience was the least likely. Not a huge surprise there, because teachers with the greatest experience also went through their teacher preparation and training in a completely different era when it comes to technology. We found that teachers had a positive attitude towards technology, with about 4 out of 5 teachers saying that they perceived that technology enhanced student learning. Similarly, about 4 out of 5 teachers perceived that they had the ability to integrate technology, and they're confident in their ability to do so. I should note that when it came to confidence, we saw a similar difference based on teacher experience. So teachers with more than 20 years experience had the least confidence. So when it comes to school support, some good news. About 64% of teachers reported technical support is above average or excellent. What I don't have, that's the top bar. What I don't have here, but I like to mention, is that 93% of teachers report having access to computers for student use. So computers are pretty darn well near saturated in this sample. However, with respect to professional development quality, I think a slight rounding error in our chart here. It should be 30, when you round up to 37% of teachers rated the quality of technology-focused professional development as above average or excellent. Okay, here I want to point out the school supports with professional development. I like to draw your eyes not to the top, but to the near the bottom, where it says 55% reported having 1 to 8 hours of professional development focused on technology. Just a moment before I started, I found that we had entered the top bars. It should be 5.9%. Somehow it ended up at 59%. Apologize for that. So ignore the top bar. It's actually the shortest bar. And the main finding is that more than half of teachers reported spending 1 to 8 hours in technology-focused professional development during the past year. So, and briefly like to summarize some implications of these findings and turn it over to our panel and get their reactions and their discussion on it. So here are a few implications. Teachers use classroom technology frequently. I didn't mention this in the findings, but we find about 9 out of 10 teachers reporting that they're using technology weekly. But the main finding that we displayed today was that they're not consistent in using it in ways that support the development of 21st century skills. So therefore, we conclude, or at least it appears, that teachers need additional support and encouragement in using technology to promote 21st century skills. The professional development findings suggest that they may need additional professional development on how technology can address specific learning objectives, and that is in particular math teachers. So we're just making an inference. If math teachers are not using it, it probably is because they don't see how it advances their curricular goals. And similarly, or I guess a parallel set of findings, is that teachers with the least amount of experience and more than 20 years of experience both tended to have the least use of technology. And so these teachers may need additional training on the use of technology. And as a suggestion, we'd like to just put on the table that school leaders could offer sustained approaches to technology-focused professional development that's embedded in teachers' ongoing professional responsibilities, rather than the intermittent approaches that we observed, as illustrated by the frequency of teachers reporting 1 to 8 hours of professional development per year on technology, and the low levels of 37% of teachers who perceived high levels of quality with that professional development. So I'm going to advance one more slide, and now we can proceed to our panel discussion.